Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
Analytics company vidIQ has certified the Queer News Tonight YouTube channel as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. Our queer stories have reached over 10 million views.
We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida.
We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in the LGBTQ+ community.
There is no other news program in the world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Tuesday, June 24th, and we are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we'll tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model as PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ community.
Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community.
We are part of one of the world's largest LGBTQ+ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
In 2025, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience, and Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 10,000 LGBTQ stories. We present Pride FayWhat in August, and we declare that love is in the air with Pride Fort Lauderdale on Valentine's Day, February 14th. Our magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2025, more than 100 community leaders will sit at this table and share their voice as our anchors. Together, we host this show to support our diverse family. Now, one of my favorite parts, let's meet today's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Vaughn Biggs. He is a community outreach coordinator at Holy Cross Health, a vice chair of the Ryan White Part A Planning Council, and a founding board member of TransEd. Vaughn, Scam Alert Seminar empowers seniors. That's on June 26th. Tell me, what's happening out?
That's right. The Pride Center's Active Aging Program will host a free Scam Alert session on Thursday, June 26th from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Schubert Building, room 200 in Wilton Manors, Florida. Presented in partnership with AARP, this informative event will equip seniors with real tips to recognize threats and stay protected. Attendees will learn how to stay informed, alert, and safe in the face of common scams targeting older adults. Light refreshments will be served, registration is required, and seating is limited, so guests are encouraged to RSVP in advance. More information available at pridecenterflorida.org. You know, it's interesting. I love Robert Boo, and I know Bruce Williams and Sean White, who organize a lot of the aging events that they do at the Pride Center, and it's great. I've been to their coffee conversations several times, and it's a large community, but you know, the whole idea of scamming, it's happening. I hear from my mom all the time is, hey, I got this message and now I'm being told that I got to call Microsoft and get my computer protected. And I'm like, Mom, stop. No. And it's so easily done.
It's so important. I need these. Like, these scams got so sophisticated and so it's really easy to just get duped.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, again, in working as a financial advisor and working for a financial institution, I can only tell you that the stories will make your head spin of things that have happened, not only to clients who I know, obviously through training and awareness, the training that we get, and again, also having a lot of senior clients myself, I get a lot of inquiries about that. I even had a friend of mine whose parents were duped into shipping money via FedEx in a cash box. And again, people that were, not that old and not that, still pretty active in the community and were able to fall for something. So the scammers are just getting better and better. So I'm glad to see that the Pride Center is, especially again in the LGBTQ community where a lot of our seniors don't have families around them to reach out to, or, maybe younger people who might know. Like, again, I always tell my dad and my mom, like, don't click on anything. Like, there's never click on anything. Don't do it on your phone. Take a step back, wait, because again, the scams are so good.
Well, I think they're also aware of the 954, 754, and 561 area codes, and that tends to, lean more towards the elder. That's a large population of that. So I think that is, but we must protect ourselves at all costs.
Yeah, like now with like the, it's AI technology, right? Like these they're getting more extensive, they're getting more sophisticated, right, with their scamming. I've had my dad like ask me like, hey son, I got this text message, is this real? Is this not? Just because the links too, like they
look legit.
When you click on the websites, I mean, some of these websites are, they look legit. They do look legit. And so it's kind of hard now to like separate what's real from what's.
Oof, chills.
Yes.
Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the Scam Alert Seminar on June 26th. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Jeff Oliverio. He is a financial advisor and certified financial planner with Truist Wealth in Fort Lauderdale. Jeff is one of the founders and the president of the Hollywood LGBTQ+ Council. Jeff, Showgirls returns in 4K with drag show at the Coral Gables Art Cinema on June 26th. I know we're all excited. Tell me, what's happening out?
Well, on Thursday, June 26th at 9 p.m., Coral Gables Art Cinema will host a special 30th anniversary screening of Showgirls, newly restored in 4K. Audience will be treated to a live drag performance by the fabulous Carla Croqueta before the film begins. Directed by Paul Verhoeven, this 1995 cult classic follows Naomi Malone's rise through Las Vegas's seductive dance scene. The event promises a night of glamour, grit, and celebration. Rated NC-17, the screening is strictly for mature audiences. Tickets and details are available at gablescinema.com. I know that I will age myself here, but this movie, when it came out, was a really big deal at the time. And for younger viewers, Paul Verhoeven is a legendary director and probably directed many movies that many of us have seen over and over, from RoboCop to Basic Instinct to some really amazing films. So this was really set up to be in that vein. I don't know that it achieved that in its cinematic history, but in the camp history, it is legendary. We don't say Versace without saying Versace. That is from Showgirls, eating puppy chow. The cast of characters from Gina Gershon to Kyle MacLachlan are all give really over-the-top campy performances that you can't miss. And and then we have Elizabeth. Berkley,
washed up.
Perkins, Elizabeth Berkley, who is, incredible in this role, with the, right in your face, know me, Malone, somebody who wants fame to know me. I mean, it's very literal. So, get your tickets, and Carla Croqueta is amazing. You've been an anchor here on Queer News Tonight. Yeah.
Well, as the Rotten Tomatoes critic at the table, I must say this is one of the all-time worst movies ever made. Basically, and deservedly destroyed the career of actor Elizabeth Berkley and third-rate director Paul Verhoeven and hack screenwriter Joe Esterhazy. Thankfully, true. Gina Gershon did survive this train wreck, and the gays embraced it and turned it into, as you said, the camp classic it is. It's the mommy dearest of the 1990s.
Good description.
I have to admit, I've never seen it. I'm going to confess, and it's because I wasn't alive. No, I'm kidding. I'm definitely alive. I just didn't watch it for whatever reason, and I loved her in Saved by the Bell, and it was this moment. But I wasn't of age to watch it. That part is true. And now I feel like it's my time. time as a good gay to go finally see it. Sounds like-
Vividly, I think it opened on 4th of July weekend when it opened 30 years ago, and I think I saw it twice in the movies because we were like, we couldn't believe how like ridiculous it was at the time, you know, and it was so funny and, you know, over the top, where like things unintentionally over the top. Yeah, so definitely. And then the NC-17 version will be so scandalous. Yes.
Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Showgirls' screening at Coral Gables Art Cinema on June 26th. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Angel Martinez. Angel Martinez is a passionate mental health advocate and policy change enthusiast from Miami. A proud Cuban-Nicaraguan American, he champions LGBTQIA+ causes and the Stonewall movement with humor, drive, and a fierce dedication to justice. I love that. Angel, AquaPlex to launch Rotation Wednesdays. That's with North Beach Happy Hour Group in beginning July 2nd. Tell me what's happening out.
Yeah, Julio. So on Wednesday, July 2, AquaPlex in Fort Lauderdale will host the debut of the Rotational Wednesdays from 5 to 7 p.m. This inaugural happy hour event will feature fabulous food and drinks, special crafted especially for the North Beach LGBTQ+ and Friends group. Guests will enjoy unbeatable prices, vibrant vibes, and an exclusive North Beach themed menu items. AquaPlex invites everyone to join the celebration and kick off this weekly gathering in style. More details available at ticketleaps.events. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, it sounds like a great event. North Beach, that's, you know, it's like still part of the greater Fort Lauderdale area, like the...
They have not been liberated yet.
Yeah.
From the Fort Lauderdale, from the oppression of the city of Fort Lauderdale.
I just want to know what's in the North Beach diet. Is it like the South Beach diet, or is it
What is the South Beach diet?
A little Mediterranean.
That was
literally a cookbook that was like air. Just eat air.
Oh, that's an idea, AquaPlex, a cookbook.
Look
I copyright that right now.
Yeah.
You said it. You heard it here first.
What I will say is that AquaPlex is really stepping up to be a community center for so many different events and organizations, which I think is wonderful because, you know, again, a lot of times, and I think we're seeing it more and more, like where the drag community is not just like, it's not just a drag brunch or like a nightclub thing. It's like bringing things that are making it accessible to people who want to go out from 7 to 9 versus at midnight or going out to brunch on a Sunday. So I like that AquaPlex is doing these type of events as well.
Well said. Thank you, AquaPlex.
Yes.
Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Rotation Wednesdays on July 2nd. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Greg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Greg is an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ publications and websites. Greg, vibrant lives to empower women and trans folks on July 3rd. Tell me, what's happening out?
A new safety series will kick off on July 3rd in Wilton Manors, offering women and trans folks hands-on self-defense training and practical gun safety tips. Vibrant Lives will be held twice monthly on Thursdays from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Powered by AHF Spark, SunServe, and the City of Wilton Manors Police Department, the sessions will focus on real-world empowerment in a supportive, affirming space. Attendees will enjoy complimentary snacks and drinks while learning vital personal safety skills. With limited seats available, early registration is encouraged. Details and tickets can be found at sunserve.org/vibrant. You know, like we talked about the scam alert earlier, that seminar, this is another necessary thing for our community, and it's unfortunately brought on by the repulsive rhetoric of the orange abomination in the White House and our very own hate-mongering Governor DeSantis. So we have to protect ourselves from these people because they don't want us here. So we have to protect ourselves.
So well said. I mean, you're right. I hate that we need it. I mean, obviously we would rather not, but For me, it's all the necessary words: empowerment, safety, community. This is all that it's about. We need more of this. That as we, in these trying times, safety, we can't take that for granted.
I mean, look at what happened. Fortunately, what happened at Pride. I mean, people need to see things, say things. They need to be trained. They need the knowledge.
And the rhetoric out there is encouraging political violence. So we already know that. We've seen political leaders shot down in their own homes. So the most vulnerable in our community, which again tend to be our trans brothers and sisters, and of course women and women of color specifically in the trans community are really greatly at risk. So I'm glad to see just finding resources to give people that kind of power to not feel powerless.
Thanks to all those who are sponsoring this, right? Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Vibrant Lives on July 3rd. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Dr. Julio Capo, Jr., a board member of the Stonewall National Museum Archives and Library. He's a history professor at Florida International University and the author of the book, Welcome to Fairyland, Queer Miami Before 1940. Now, Julio, you will be uncovering Florida's hidden history on June 27th with Robert W. Feisler. Tell me, what's happening now?
On Friday, and I should note, he's the one discovering it. I just get to ask him really cool questions. On Friday, June 27th, I'll have the honor of joining Robert Feisler at Books and Books. That's my childhood bookstore from 7 to 8 p.m. for a conversation about his groundbreaking new book called American Scare. This isn't just a history. It's a chilling reminder of how Florida's government targeted Black and queer lives under the guise of patriotism. As someone who studies history, and this history in particular, I know how urgently these stories need to be heard and told. The event is free, it's open to all, and books will be available for purchase. I hope you'll join us as we uncover the truth so many have tried to erase, and they continue to do so. More information is available on eventbrite.com. So this is the history of what's known as the Johns Committee, and it was founded in the 50s and into the 1964, right? That started initially, it was attacking the NAACP. It started as an organization. It was like essentially like a state-run FBI, like the Florida HUAC, like the House of Un-American Activities Committee, to stop the advancing of Black civil rights. By red baiting them, by essentially saying they were all run by communists. They were unable to find any evidence that Black civil rights organizations were, not actually just fighting for rights, but rather just communist run, amok. So they shifted their attention to policing and purging queer folks from positions of, universities, from schools, anywhere they thought they had kind of undue influence on youth. It's a terrible blemish in our history, and yet so many of the things that we're seeing happen today are coming out of the playbook of this Johns Committee. This is a really important time to know and understand this history, because history doesn't rhyme, but it doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. I just ruined it as I tried to be so smart. So check it out and check out the book.
What's fascinating to me is that Books and Books, because coming from the publishing background that I do, our bookstores have gone away. Traditional bookstores. Yeah. It's like, those, as you said, a childhood. I remember going as a kid to individual small book, the mom pops, and they just don't exist today. So it's nice to see.
Yeah. Well said.
And Books and Books is a huge supporter of the LGBTQ community. I know when we did the Task Force Gala, we created a queer book, which, Greg, I think you donated a book to us during that time, and we created a queer book nook for the auction, and Books and Books helped us with some of the LGBTQ authors. But one thing I want to say with, again, somebody who's passionate about history, and I think many of us at this table are, and I was talking to at the last Juneteenth event, and we were talking about like how we're clamoring that they're trying to erase our history, but yet how many young people in our own community don't even know our history. Right. So, I encourage people, obviously to have our younger generation to learn about the things that we're kind of facing today, because I don't think people realize, again, all of the things that came before that were already fought against and have already been litigated, that you're sitting in this space today with the rights that you do have and how easily they can be taken away. So I think this is a very good reminder. I hope we see more young people at events like this, because that's, like you said, if we don't know about our history, it will repeat itself.
Yeah.
Know your history. And thank you, Doctor,
Yes.
for being a great historian as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, right now we're like in a very hostile environment, right, here in Florida, and it is important for younger people to learn about Florida, right? Like they live in a state, like they don't know the laws that were passed before. They don't know, like, you know, it's not just the black community, it's the queer community, right? Like the struggle, and we have at the house, we barely have any representation, like as far as like members of our own community, right, fighting for us. So it's important to learn that history. It's important to like learn, you know, and books, I mean, they do a lot of political events. They do a lot of the LGBTQ plus activism, and it's one of the few safe spaces that we have still in Miami. Right now, Miami's like it's gotten red washed, you know, but you know, we have to learn, like history can repeat itself. That's the problem. History can. And I mean, it's important now more than ever to like understand, you know, our history.
And one more plug for Books and Books, but I do think
we all love books
if
and
you
books.
just want to support the book and you can't attend the event, I believe you can order books on Books and Books website, which goes to a local bookstore as opposed to buying it through Amazon or another platform, which I'm sure the author would be happy if you bought it through Amazon as well, but it would be great to buy it through Books and Books.
Certainly support our local
Indies,
bookstores and our indie bookstores. That's say Books and Books is not just, they're putting their money where their mouth
They
is,
are,
right? Like, I
absolutely.
mean, they started a foundation. They're really fighting against book bans.
They are.
We are very grateful for the work you're doing. They really are doing important work for all of us.
Well, Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Books and Books on June 27th. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer non-media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Julio Capo, and let's queer up the USA view. Boise Straight Pride Fest flops and gets hijacked by queer song. A so-called heterosexual awesomeness festival in Boise, Idaho turned into a cautionary tale of overpromising and under-delivering, drawing only dozens of attendees to what organizers claimed would be a high-energy celebration of, quote, family values with guts. The event, held at Cecile D. Andrus Park and organized by bar owner Mark Fitzpatrick, was billed as an anti-woke, God-centered answer to Pride events. Fitzpatrick declared it would, quote, obliterate the anti-family noise. But the only thing that was obliterated seemed to be the crowd size. Things took a turn when openly pro-LGBTQ musician Daniel Hamrick took the stage, stripping off his shirt to reveal a Keep Canyon County Queer t-shirt and a rainbow patch jacket. Hamrick performed his song, Boy, a haunting piece about a trans child enduring forced conformity and societal cruelty.
Daniel Hamrick? Hamrick, right on. Give it up. Let's do this.
Now, before I get started, Earl told me to talk about myself a bit. We got any veterans out here today? Got a handful of veterans. All right. I'd know if I'm supposed to wear bits of my uniform when I'm not in uniform. But as a former Army Ranger, I thought I might wear my little tambourine here today. It's kind of special to me, so I figured I'd have it with me for this little performance. Charlie, if you'd come up here for a sec. Fantastic. Everybody, give it up for my buddy Charlie here. A little something special just for this performance. This first song is called Boy. That's not it. They put him in dresses to keep him in line. They say it's a phase and it's all in his mind. They put him in ballet, he wants to play ball. What matters to him doesn't matter at all. The boy that everyone thought was a girl. The boy that everyone thought was a girl. Afraid the world might come unfold. The boy that everyone thought was a girl. 2, 3, 4. They grew out his hair, but he wanted it short. Put him in a skirt, now he's all out of sorts. It's not just aesthetics, it's down to his heart. They're breaking his will and he's breaking apart. The boy that everyone thought was a girl. The boy that everyone thought was a girl. Afraid to skew their ignorant view. The boy that everyone thought was a girl. This kid has got no chance, must stop the woke advance. Let teacher take a glance, what's in your underpants? Elephants taking pride in tranny suicide. When all the books are fried, we'll see how many die. Afraid of the news on his parents' TV. At church they...
The live stream cut out mid-song. Fitzpatrick rushed to the stage, took the mic, and later told KTVB, quote, "This is yet another example of lies and deception from the Pride community. Pathetic and evil," end quote. This isn't the first failed straight Pride event. From Seattle to Boston, past efforts have drawn tiny crowds, larger counter-protests, and in one case, a solo marcher with cardboard signs. The message from these events remains clear. Hate doesn't sell, not even with food trucks. This story is so incredibly powerful to me because that song that took guts and gratitude for that to do that. I love that kind of activism too, the kind of theatrical, kind of witty and very bold and like like almost taking off a mask at something like you thought that you knew who I was and like actually I could look like this and still be a good person, right? Or whatever, right? Like, and I just love that kind of, it reminds me of Act Up or something, like the kind of like queerness of protest. This was powerful protest. And the song, I did not know who this artist was before. I know you now and I'm grateful for you.
I'll bet Mark Fitzpatrick. I love the quote from Reddit that there were, quote, more porta potties than people, end quote. Maybe the state should change its name to Ida No.
I mean, we just have to thank Boise for, bringing him on, right? I mean, they clearly knew what they were doing, right? They clearly knew.
They did their research.
Yeah. I mean, again, as you said, acts of resistance. I think that, we need more of this energy in so many spaces and to take that risk. And the one thing I'll say to Boise is you can't turn a donkey into a unicorn. So your pride is not going to be like our pride and people are not going to show up for it. So keep throwing your money down the drain. We're going to keep doing what we're doing and bring smiles and rainbows and queer people to towns across America.
And that money was what, $85,000, something like that? And
yeah, I mean, I don't know why they continue to waste money down the drain. They don't leave any controversy with their lifestyle. They're doing this. I mean, it's good for us, right? So that we see, and I'm so proud of that activist.
Yeah,
I'm proud of like him standing up, and it was a beautiful song. Like, it's nice to see that, like activism, like from our community.
And I think you hear a lot of times that like our pride events and our queer events are recruiting people. Well, if this straight awesomeness was a recruiting tool, it's really flopping miserably. Because I have no interest in being straight after seeing 7 people on an empty field. If this was straight life is like, it's really boring.
Hetero awesomeness. Like, where do they even come up with this?
Those are 2 words that should never go together in the same sentence.
Yeah. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Vaughn Biggs, and let's queer up healthcare. FDA-approved Yeztugo is the new groundbreaking HIV prevention drug. Tonight, we bring you a story that touches the heart of our community, a story of science, survival, and long-awaited hope. The FDA has just approved Yeztugo, a brand name for lenacapavir, a new HIV prevention drug from Gilead Sciences. It's a twice-a-year injection, just 2 discrete shots that offers near-complete protection against HIV. Let that sink in. Just 2 shots a year. No daily pills, no monthly reminders, just 2 injections every 6 months. And you're protected. This is being hailed as the closest thing we have ever had to HIV vaccine. As John Brooks, former chief medical officer at CDC's HIV prevention division, put it, quote, "It really could be a game changer, particularly in areas affected by HIV," end quote. Imagine this, what this means for a young queer person in Liberty City, or a trans woman in Wilton Manors, or a black gay man in Overtown. People who have been told they're at risk their whole lives, people who've been left behind by the healthcare system, people who deserve better, and South Florida is one of those areas. We know the numbers, we've seen the impact, especially among Black and Latino, gay and bisexual men, transgender women, and young queer people who often face barriers to care, stigma, and systemic neglect. But obstacles remain. As STAT reports, the drug still faces Trump-era policy hurdles and questions of equitable access. Yeztugo is not just a medical breakthrough, it's privacy, it's dignity, it's freedom, and we must fight to make sure the hope reaches everyone. You know, Gilead's U.S. access strategy for Yeztugo is designed to enable broad uptake and availability for individuals without and with insurance coverage. So they already have it on their website that they're already targeting to make sure that this is going to be covering a lot of people. As we know, PrEP has been on the discussion board amongst our government leaders. Yeah. So it's very, very promising. The results of the studies have been amazing. They have a large base of people that's been tested. So I'm excited for this.
Every part of the story is incredible to me, and like I think for all of us on this in this table, like that is. In some ways, this seemed like never going to happen, right? And for it to happen in this moment of chaos, I have to say, feels like just really much needed good news, because it can change people. I also love the way that you said that, right? That it's privacy, it's dignity, it's freedom. I love this. I also this is the dumbest comment I've ever made on the show, but I think Chapel Roan has to partner with them, because Yeztugo, ever since I heard the title, all I can think of is "You can take Yeztugo." So this has to happen as a marketing scheme. It's too similar.
Wow.
Hire me and I will do that. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like
there's a
You heard that, Gilead.
You heard it here first in my warped pop princess brain.
I saw the Daniel O'Day, who's the CEO of Gilead, on CNBC the morning this was announced, and it was interesting to hear the presenting hetero straight anchors ask questions and saying, "Why is this so groundbreaking? You know, there's daily medications that do the same thing, and why is this such a big deal?" And to not understand, and his really simple answer, which I think was really powerful, was he said, "People who aren't sick don't want to take a pill every day." And I didn't really hear it that way. And he said, "There's a stigma with taking a pill every day, like there's something wrong with you." And this is where you can put this in the back of your mind and just go about living your life, not having to feel like this pill is a reminder on a daily basis that, you know, you or your community are at risk. So I thought that's powerful. Was really interesting. And again, you know, when we look at like people, and I'm sure you can speak to this better than I, but like people who, you know, maybe on PrEP and then lose their job or have to change jobs, and now they don't have insurance, and even though you can get it through other means, they don't go through the steps. It's a lot of work. And that's when people end up transmitting the disease, is when they're not protected. So like if you can just have 2 times a year where you can make sure that you're fully protected, the power of that is groundbreaking. Yeah.
Another thing, like Miami-Dade County, right, actually has one of the highest HIV rates in the country. So I looked up the national average. The national average is 16 0.7 per 100,000 people. In Miami-Dade County, it's actually 33.
Wow.
So I mean, this
Double.
this would help out phenomenally. You know, members of our community living in Miami-Dade County. There's a lot of stigma. Right, there's a lot of stigma associated with taking PrEP and, you know, being on the pill. There's a lot of members of our community in the closet that, you know, that don't really feel comfortable coming out and, you know, taking medication. Right, this would help out that. It would help bring down the infection rate. So I think it's great. I think it is a game changer. It's a game changer.
It's got to take a combination of several things. It's got to take PrEP, which is obviously important, but it also has to take treatment. And that is working with our community for those who are not virally suppressed to get them virally suppressed. It's going to take the combination of that to end this. That's the only way it's going to happen. So.
Well, let's just hope that the barriers and obstacle, also known as RFK Jr., will be distracted by other things and will not get in the way of this.
Right.
Also, just a shout out to you for always doing amazing, important work. And like we as a community are grateful to you and lucky to have you. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Jeff Oliverio, and let's queer up gay culture. Brooklyn Brewery skips Pride ads to fund trans New Yorkers. As big brands back away from LGBTQ pride, one New York brewery is stepping in with action. Not just rainbow logos, Brooklyn Brewery, the official beer partner of New York City Pride for the past 3 years, is trading its usual Pride ads for something far more impactful: direct financial aid to transgender, non-binary, and two-spirit New Yorkers. The new initiative, called Brooklyn Brewery Supports, will distribute $25,000 in no-strings-attached funds, that's $1,000 each to 25 individuals, to help with essentials like housing, food, and healthcare. President Robin Ottaway told The Advocate, quote, "This year it felt more urgent than ever to shift from symbolic participation to something that offers real, practical help," end quote. While Brooklyn Brewery will still march and celebrate this June, its dollars are now going directly to the community, a bold move at a time when others are pulling out. The brewery is partnering with Angelica Christina, a board member of Stonewall Inn, gives back initiatives to select recipients through December 2025. Anyone over the age of 21 living in New York City who identifies as trans, non-binary, or two-spirit can apply or be nominated by a friend. Ottaway adds, quote, "We hope the money offers some breathing room, a chance to ease immediate stress around basic needs like housing, food, or healthcare," end quote. Positive story in the face of Pride Month, when we've been bombarded by the stories of people pulling back and coming out of the community. And I think it's a good model to look at because, again, as someone who runs a Pride event, we certainly need dollars supported from organizations as well. But it's also a great idea for the Pride organizations to find ways that sponsors can do something that is a direct give back. You know, we're fortunate with the Hollywood LGBTQ Council. You know, we do have community action that we're doing internally that helps fund, you know, the work of Pride helps fund some of that work. And we try to tie those things together. But I think these type of initiatives are really powerful because it's not just like sponsor Pride to have a party. It's about sponsor Pride because our community needs it.
And they often don't get that is the reason, one of the reasons I imagine that this model doesn't get, of course, as much traction is that they don't get as much credit for it, right? Like that is
Absolutely.
And so it takes a lot. I'm always a cynic about everything, but like especially about rainbow corporatism and like this kind of like phenomenon. But to me, this is exactly the kind of things we need to see more of, right? Like that is like it's going directly to the hands of people who need them. And now I love Brooklyn Brewery. You know, like I'm sure I loved you before. I don't know. I'm sure I drank you before. And like but like that, to me, this is a really powerful alternative to you know, like drink, you know, go to Gay Pride and see Smirnoff or something, whatever. Like that, our culture looks like a lot of different things, but at the core, it's activism.
Absolutely.
And it's one of those examples of local as opposed to national, and maybe more local
community
people
oriented.
stood up and a toast to Brooklyn Brewery.
Recently, right before Pride, the LGBT Chamber, Jason Nunez, I'm calling you out, actually had Stacy Lentz and Kurt Kelly.
I saw
They're
that.
two owners. They're two of the 4 owners of the Stonewall Inn that came here, and she was actually the Grand Marshal in our Pride. But it was fascinating because she told the story of how Brooklyn Brewery created Stonewall Inn beer label for them, so they're partnering with it. So this brewery is stepping up, and
love that.
we need some more yet to do that. Yeah, we need to find a way to start partnering in those areas.
Absolutely.
Like the direct funding part too, it's very effective, right? Like you have the community, the community, sometimes they need help, right? Like members of our community are not always, rich or, like well off, so I mean, it's great that Brooklyn Brewery is stepping up and giving that direct funding that like instead of going through 2 or 3 hands or, kind of like a larger festival, which we love the parties, we love, we love the pool parties, but it's nice to have that direct, support, where it's needed.
Well said, y'all. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ plus story for today. I'm Angel Martinez, and let's queer up trans rights. Rowling calls out for photos in women's restrooms. The LGBTQ plus community warns of dangerous fallout. In a disturbing escalation of her anti-trans rhetoric, billionaire author J.K. Rowling is now encouraging the public in the UK to photograph people in women's restrooms, potentially targeting anyone who doesn't fit the narrow beauty norms, including transgender women and gender non-conforming cisgender women. Her comments came in a post on Twitter, where Rowling responded to a question about how public restrooms would be policed after a recent UK Supreme Court ruling defined man and women in legal terms as biological sex. Following the ruling, the UK's Equality and Human Rights Commission said trans people should not be permitted to use the bathrooms aligning with their gender. Rowling replied, quote, "Quite easily, really, decent men will stay out, as they always have, so we can assume all who we don't are a threat, given their disregard for women's and girls' safety, privacy, and dignity. Photographing, reporting, and dismantling such men's image online will be a piece of cake," end quote. But photographing people in restaurants is illegal in the UK and dangerous in practice, and harassment has already happened. In March, Phoenix police burst into the restroom to remove a butch lesbian wrongly identified as male. That same month, a 6'4" cisgender woman employee was harassed in a restroom because someone thought she was trans. In January, Rep. Lauren Boebert mistook a 6 woman for being trans in a Capitol restroom and told her, quote, "You shouldn't be here," end quote. The list goes on, and it's a chilling preview of what Rowland's piece of cake policy could unleash. A wave of vigilante harassment against anyone who doesn't conform to rigid, outdated standards of womanhood. For LGBTQ plus Americans, many of whom have long viewed Rowland as a harmful figure, this latest move is more than just rhetoric. It's a call for action that endangers real people in the name of protecting them, right? I mean, that's just pathetic. She's pathetic. All that money, wealth, influence, power, and this is what you decide to do with it. What is wrong with people and the lack of empathy nowadays for others? Like, you're literally advocating for harassment of people in a restroom. Like, that's not cool. That's not acceptable. Like, this is dangerous rhetoric. This is harmful to members of our community that just want privacy in a bathroom like that. Yeah. She's shameful. She's shameful.
All I'm waiting for is, all the members of parliament that have to go to the bathroom wearing those big long white wigs.
Right.
Yeah. When are they going to start getting harassed?
Well said. I mean,
right?
The core of this is like, well said by everyone. And like in the story's nuts. Like, it's like this in large part, and it's so dangerous. And the thing is, like, it's policing all of us. Like, that is like, it's something that's meant to be a private space, that's meant to be, semi-private space insofar as, like, obviously you're shared, it's not a single, but like that is, you imagine that you can just do your business in peace, and that, like, this idea, why do you have this obsession with surveilling and policing people? Leave people alone. Like, that no one is doing anything. Like, this rhetoric is just so dangerous because it's so based on on falsehoods. And what it does is ultimately make us way, way more unsafe, all of us.
Yes.
I mean, I think we've done, over 10,000 stories here at Queer News Tonight. I'm pretty sure about 500 of them have been about J.K. Rowling and her attacks against the art community. But there have been absolutely zero stories that we've covered here of trans people in bathrooms attacking or putting their, or having a sexual act against people in bathrooms. It's called using the restroom, which all individuals deserve the dignity to do. And J.K. Rowling is a piece of trash. I hate that we get to mention her name here on a regular basis, but there have been zero stories that we're protecting. We're not protecting people from anything by allowing people to use the bathroom with the gender which would they identify.
I won't say her name, but I will say that she's a despicable heifer, and she's proof that mad cow disease can take human form.
She who will not be named.
He who will not be named.
I can't.
She's the modern day Voldemort.
Voldemort. She wrote
modern
him in.
day.
That is a big. Maybe she. Oh my God, that's the story. She identified as.
Yes.
All right. That is a big. You heard it here first. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Greg Shapiro, and let's queer up the worldview. Budapest Pride to march on June 28th despite anti-LGBTQ+ ban. Despite a sweeping ban on public LGBTQ events, tens of thousands will flood the streets of Budapest this Saturday for the city's 30th annual Pride Parade. Hungary's parliament passed a constitutional amendment in April, 140 to 21, making it illegal to hold or attend events that violate the country's so-called child protection law. This 2021 law bans the depiction or promotion of homosexuality to minors. Offenders face steep fines, and authorities can now use facial recognition to identify participants. At the same time, the ruling Fidesz party has pushed through another constitutional amendment declaring there are only two sexes, rejecting science and echoing a 2020 Trump-era U.S. policy. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban is a close ally of Donald Trump. Still, the parade will go on with Budapest Mayor Gabriel Kereskenyei and more than 70 members of the European Parliament expected to attend. Organizers anticipate a record international turnout. Spokesperson Mete Hedges said, quote, "This is not only for the LGBTQ community, but for everyone," end quote. More than 30 foreign embassies, including Britain, France, and Germany, have publicly supported the march. The U.S., however, did not sign on. The embassy's joint statement praised the parade as, quote, "a symbol of resilience and progress," end quote. Budapest Pride will be on June 28th. As someone who is 1/4 Hungarian, I say Bajd meg to Viktor Orban and Köszönöm to Budapest Mayor Gergely Kereskenyei. To our Hungarian LGBTQ folks, I say Maradj biztonos Gabon. That means be careful. Stay safe.
I was going to say, I don't know what that means, but I'm pretty certain I support it.
Yeah.
Well, that is why I trust Greg enough.
Yeah.
Well, I think we did the story a couple weeks ago about the protests that have been going on in Hungary and the real activism that's happening there in the LGBTQ community. And again, Pride, of course, it began as a protest. This was a glowing example of like people taking to the streets and not allowing these types of bans to come into effect, and that we can't be erased, and taking their lives at risk in many cases. I mean, this is a totalitarian regime. They don't have the perceived rights that we have here in the United States, where we can't be legally swooped off the streets. However, they're willing to go out there, and it's a lot. If you've seen the videos of the protests that they're having almost on a daily basis in Hungary, it's a lot of young people, way more young people than we see at our rallies and events here. So I really find this encouraging. I just hope it inspires more people to do so.
I was going to say something really similar. I've been reading this book called America Last that's about the kind of American rights obsession with authoritarian leaders in other countries. And of course, one of the key examples is Bang. And like that is one of the things that they have for decades been really kind of obsessed and like almost fetishizing authoritarian rulers in foreign countries, and they have like as a guidebook, like as a lesson to implement that, almost like as a kind of incubator for things that they can later do in the United States. And one of the things that I'm trying to look at the kind of silver lining here, much like you did, just Jeff, right? The protesters too, right? Like that is, we have to learn how they resisted those kinds of moments because they're under such totalitarianism and such violence. People are surviving and have managed to create movements and create points of joy, queer joy, in spite of it all. And that we have to take as an important lesson, as a guidebook for ourselves too, because it's not that far off.
Right.
No, I mean, one of the programs that SAVE has going on right now is they're training people to go to local city council commission meetings and to speak on behalf of the LGBTQ community. Again, outside of the enclaves of Wilton Manors or Miami Beach, where we're very, we're regularly on the agenda.
Preaching to the choir.
To go to, smaller towns and, within our county and to actually speak and raise your voice. Because again, that type of energy is something that was very prevalent at other periods in our LGBTQ struggle or in the Black struggle or many others. And we've kind of gotten away from it. Like politics is local, and fighting these things at a local level, is where we start building power for people to become state senators, to become governors, to have all of those people in place. So it's important that we not just raise our voice by, clicking we don't like something on Facebook or boo or doing something like that, is to actually go out and do real activism. And that's what they're doing here in Hungary.
And more No Kings type marches.
Absolutely.
More of those.
Yes.
More.
I'm thinking that hopefully it's a bigger turnout than our World Pride we had in DC. Would be nice, right?
Yeah.
But Parliament, are they going to be in wigs? I'm curious. I just had that.
You never know. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Jeff. Like you said about the local activism, right? Like it's 10 your city council meetings, right? Speak Out, the Human Rights Campaign, they score cities, right? So they score, like the city of Hollywood is scored, city of Wilton Manor, city of Fort Lauderdale. My city where I'm from, Hialeah, is actually like pretty low. Like we have a low score on by HRC, so not a lot of protections. There's a lot of activism in these cities there's a lot of opportunities for our community to stand up and attend these council meetings, to, even run for office, right? Like, support a local candidate, canvass for a local candidate, right? That you agree with, right? If you're you don't feel represented, right? Go for those candidates. Learn about the candidates and go for candidates that support the LGBTQ plus community, because we are under attack here in Florida.
Absolutely.
We are under attack. It's not just Broward, right? It's not just Miami-Dade. In Florida, the state, we're under attack, right? And it's
in the United States.
Yeah. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Those are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. These anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ family.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our rainbow family is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Julio Capo, and on behalf of these awesome LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Vaughn Biggs, Jeff Oliverio, Angel Martinez, and Greg Shapiro. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ world, we hope you will join us by embracing love, generosity, bravery, to be transformative and queer. Good night.
Good night.
Right.